Welcome. This is Patrick, and you're trading with Prime. We are going to give it a couple minutes here and let people jump in. Until then, welcome. For those of you guys who are new, feel free to hit the like button if you gain value out of these videos/streams. And feel free to check out the Discord. The link is in the description. If you are new, feel free to hit the subscribe button. I want to first start off by saying thank you for the 400. We just cleared 400 followers. I appreciate each and every one of you guys, and I could not do it without you. So, appreciate it. Let's get into it. Let's first start off the stream by taking a look at the weekly charts. We're going to go through the broad market, and then we're going to go over a few stocks, and then we will get into your guys' stuff. And so the first thing I want to look at is the weekly time frame. It looks like the futures are up. The IWM, or Russell 2000, is up 1.46%. The NQ is up 1%. The ES is up 0.8%. And so we are going to dive into the weekly time frame. And so first thing I'm looking at is RSP, which is equal weight S&P 500. And we noticed last week we did have a reversal candle. So that's something to be mindful of, to just kind of see where the price takes us this week. We could retrace all the way up. In fact, we can make new highs, but we could retrace all the way up to 138.50. You can be short against that high if you would like, but keep in mind we are in a pretty solid uptrend. And if I go over to the IWM, let's take a look at the IWM on the weekly time frame. And let me get rid of this. How's it going, Mark? Mark, you are number one. Welcome. Okay, so right here, Russell 2000, we are looking at the weekly time frame. And so you can see there's a lot of space in here. The fact that the Russell broke out, maybe that's good for the U.S. economy, or maybe it's a sign that the U.S. economy is going to start doing better. We have a lot of room in here to the downside as far as staying bullish on a weekly time frame, and we could still come all the way down here to 205, maybe even down to 201, and still be bullish on a weekly time frame. So just kind of keep that in mind. Let's go to the SPY. Same thing with the SPY. What we're looking at as far as the weekly time frame, still above trend, and the trend that I am talking about is, if I draw a little trend line, snap it up here, we are sitting on trend. So let's see how this week plays out. Let's see if we can stay above the trend line. And of course, YouTube is giving me the normal weekly error message. Something about the video resolution. Can you guys see the screen okay? Okay, let's just keep going through here. And so okay, SPY staying above our trend, and let's go ahead and do this. I mean, we're at pretty significant key level here. Not to mention, we do have this, we have this channel in here, so that's something to watch this week, and that weekly trend. Let's go to the Qs. Qs, we did have a actually on the Qs we had a monthly reversal, and I'll show you kind of what I'm talking about. Actually, we have two monthly reversal candles, and so we had last month which was January, and then we have the month of February, both reversal candles. As far as trend reversals on a weekly time frame, it doesn't mean price can't come all the way back up here to the highs or make new highs. It just is another sign that, hey, let's be mindful of where we are entering swing trades on any names that we like in the Qs. As far as the, let's do this. As far as the trend, there's something a little bit different about the Qs as opposed to the other markets. And so if I do the same thing, like pull the trend line up, do a little snap, we've already broken trend. So what I'm looking at for this week is I want to see if price can come back up here. Let's do this. I want to see if price can come back up here and do a little back test. And the thing is, we don't know where price is going to go. Maybe it wants to come all the way back up here to the gap. Maybe it wants to back test this before starting to roll over. We will see. And you know what? Maybe it finds support right here and bounces off of it and just makes new highs. Time will tell. I don't necessarily think that's what we're going to do or what the chart is showing at this moment, but anything is possible. So let's just see how the week takes. Let's just take it easy this week. XLF, same thing. We have a weekly reversal candle. XLF is also a little bit different than the other markets. It has a lot of room down here to where it can still come down here a little bit, maybe even draw in another trend in here. See where it comes down as far as the weekly goes. Now, if I go to the daily chart, and just with the daily chart by itself, if I do the same thing, like pull a trend in here, you can see it has a lot of room in here. I do think we're going to see a little bit more upside in the XLF. Let me rephrase that. I think if the market's going to rally, I think that this XLF pullback is buyable, is more what I mean. I think we could see a little bit more upside in the XLF. Maybe you have a little bit more to go, a little bit more room to go on that. What else can we look at? Let's look at the transports. Where are the transports at here? Well, I don't know where they're at, but let's just do this. Transport, same kind of thing, but if I go back out to the weekly time frame and kind of see what it's looking at, we have a breakout. You see this area right here. This is area of consolidation. So again, if we fall back to this area, I would expect it to act as some sort of support. And let's do this. Let's zoom in a little bit and let's see where our trend lines up on the transports. And so we could definitely pull back to the trend. We could trade sideways a little bit. Keep in mind, again, we still have another weekly reversal candle, and that's this one right here. Price is really rejected from the highs, not to mention the volume. Those are both something to keep an eye on as far as coming up into this next week. What else do we want to look at for broad market? Let's look at emerging markets. We don't really look at this emerging markets, but let's just take a look. You see a definite reversal, and there's probably a little bit of room in here. We still have a little bit of room where price can still come back as long as it remains above this area right here. I'll give you a price of around $52, $51, $52. If it can stay above that, it can still remain bullish on a longer time frame. But I think it could still definitely pull back here. It's looking pretty bearish as far as the last 2 weeks. So let's see what happens. Maybe we'll get a bounce in here this week. That's kind of what I would be eyeing right now, is maybe a bounce this week coming into Monday, Tuesday. Let's see what happens, though. I don't want to say that that's necessarily going to happen. This is looking pretty ugly the last few days in here. So those are all some things, key areas to watch. If I go back to the SPY, again, on the daily chart, now you can start to see this channel show up here. And I don't mean to be jumping all over the place as far as the different markets, but I could draw on a channel right here. And the other thing we can do is we can, so that it's a little bit more easy. As long as we stay above in this channel and above this channel, I think higher prices could happen. Just be very careful, know where your levels are at. If we find ourselves back down near Friday's low, I'm not so sure that Friday's low would hold, especially with these types of volume that we have this last week. It's looking pretty ugly. If I go to the weekly time frame, monthly, let's go to the weekly. If I go to the weekly time frame back on the SPY, and again, now you can see from the March lows, if I just tag this up like this, it depends on where you draw the trend line. This is where we have to be careful with trend lines. Is price going to stay above this? And if it falls a little bit, are we going to move our trend line? We just got to be really careful about that, because we'll just keep moving them until it fits our needs. So that's the only thing I'd say, be careful with the trend lines. But as far as the candlesticks themselves on the weekly time frame, these are definitely looking a little bit bearish. And in fact, I can still see if we do fall, we'll probably find a little bit of support down here. And I'll go ahead and give you a price of around 371.60. That would be a nice area of support. And we'll also be pulling back to the 20-week moving average. So the 20 period moving average on the weekly time frame. Okay, let's go over to our, I hope that's clarifies all that for the broad market. I'm going to start deleting these from last week. And feel free, guys, at any moment, start putting ticker symbols in the comment section, and I will start going through them. Let's leave Fubo. I wanted to look at Fubo, so let's leave it on there. RKT, we had earnings a couple days ago. Let's leave RKT on there. CCIV, that's looking pretty ugly. Let's see here. Definite weekly reversal candle. This price action is not looking too healthy. However, we did find support on CCIV. Let's put this in the watch list. We find some support down in here on the 50 period moving average, and as you can see, it was prior. There's a prior gap in here. I don't even think it came all the way down to the gap fill. This gap is acting as support, so you can technically be long against this, maybe using a stop loss at below Friday's low. I don't like the look of this chart. I don't like this kind of a run up and rejection, and it was a pullback of, it was a drawdown of 57%, so that's close to our 60%. Close enough. So if you are in this trade, as far as if you just got in it recently in the last couple days, I don't see any reason to get out of it. What we don't want to see is we don't want to see price consolidating just above support. And if it does continue consolidating above support, it might be more likely to shoot through support. So for me, what I like to see is I'd like to see a little bit of consolidation, and then you just draw some trend lines across, or some support and resistance lines across the screen, and then when we get a breakout, go ahead and take a long trade. Or when we get a breakdown, you could try to set up some sort of short trade out of that, but just be careful because you might be coming into some support down, just down below. So something to kind of keep an eye out, take a look at. Now RKT, let's go to RKT. We did have earnings come out and it popped up to 23.28. I think it was a 10% day or so 17% at the open, and then it closed up, you know, around 10%. So it's definitely something to watch this coming into this next week as far as RKT. It looks like we could come down a little bit. I'm not sure that these moving averages will hold as support. As you can see, the price has chopped through the moving averages several times now. So I'm not so confident or sure that it will be support, but it's possible. This was a pretty bearish day, bearish close. I know it gapped higher, but as far as the close itself, I would have liked to seen a little bit higher prices into the close. And so that's something to kind of keep an eye on. Another thing before we leave this chart is I do see this in here as far as some sort of support. You can kind of see a price gap zone in here, which maybe this was a prior pivot in here, so maybe it will act as support. But I'm not in this trade. I like the chart. I like the company. I feel like the company is undervalued. I feel like it should be a lot higher prices than it currently is sitting at. But with that said, we got to be careful because we could easily see this faded off. So maybe continue watching the broad market, continue watching the daily chart as far as RKT goes. Let's go over to Fubo. I like Fubo. What I wanted to see is I wanted to see Fubo break out of this pattern, and it didn't break out, so the trade wasn't entered. What we had is we had a breakdown, and then we found support down here, which makes sense that we found support down here. But again, just like some of the other charts that we've seen, what we don't want to see is we don't want to see it bouncing on support, because again, the more likely it is to fall through. I do like this price action. I like that it's holding support. So maybe prices above Friday's high, maybe that would be good entry. Keeping your stop loss just underneath this last pivot support. And if we do fall through support, like if you're not in this trade right now, let's do this. If you're not in this trade currently, I like this area down here, and I'm going to go ahead and just say 29.90, 29.74 through 31.24. I like that area in the chart. So I don't know if the current support's going to hold, and if it didn't hold, maybe it'll find support down here. I would like to see a little bit more movement in FUBO before I take a trade. So I will let you guys know. I'll do a post on the alert section of the Discord. Okay. Let's get into it. PLTR. I like PLTR. I wish it was doing a little bit more than it's currently doing. We took this last bounce trade out of this consolidation area. And so what you saw is you saw the price come down here and do a little bit of a back test. And what I wanted to see was higher prices. What happened was it topped out around $30. And you guys probably, I'm thinking, in the alert section, I posted like $30 is my target, and so I exited the trade. I'm glad I did, because it just got rejected and fell right back down. So $30 was a good area for me as far as risk versus reward. I was aiming for that bounce back up to the gap, and the gap that I'm talking about is this one right here that was created on, or the day of February 16th. So for me, what would I like to see? I would like to see, first of all, Friday's low hold. It is a reversal candle, but it's not necessarily completely convincing just yet. I don't like how price just continues to fall down into this area like this, like a bouncy ball. It's not what I want to see. I want to see price rally out of this area. And because we're still hanging around down here, it's not looking too good. Definitely something to watch. So I'm going to keep PLTR on the watch list. Let's go over to Xpev. We're going to run through some charts that people sent me. So, okay, so Xpev, I like this company. The thing is that we might see a little bit of, well, we've already seen a little bit of profit taken in the EV markets. I think this company had good news on, was it today or this weekend? It might have had some news. So expecting to release new P7 sedan with lithium iron. Okay, so we had a little bit of news come out this weekend. This was today at 5:13 in the morning. So whatever time it is, wherever you guys are at. I like this. I mean, it's staying above the support as far as you can kind of see why it acted as support in this area. And I do like this. There is a gap down here if it does fall one more time. The only thing I would be very cautious of if we did fall one more time is that this candle right here is a reversal candle, meaning price should be rallying away from this area. Now, what we saw recently is this candlestick right here. Maybe this was the back test. You know what? Let's do this. Let's zoom in just a little bit so you guys can kind of see it a little bit better. Price shoots down here, it finds support, right? And it not just support, but it's on this heavy volume candle. Plus, this is in itself a reversal candle. And so this move that we just saw in the last few days, so that's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday can be just a simple retest, retracement of that first trend reversal candle in the daily chart. So now what I would like to see at this point is higher prices. If we can't get above this price area, in fact, risk versus reward goes, this would be a nice entry if you did take it Friday. But you'd have to take it under the impression that, you know, you're going to hold it over a 3-day weekend, and then who knows what could happen Monday. There's going to be time to get into this trade. I think that if we do see higher prices in Xpev, I think that it's possible that, I think it's possible that if it breaks out of this consolidation period, because it's, whether you want to call it consolidation or if you want to call it selling off, if we break out of this pattern, I think you're going to see a lot higher prices. And the first thing I would do is I would target this area right here, which is 42.80. There's going to be a little bit of resistance at 39.79, and then probably 42.40. Let's see what happens tomorrow. I think these moving averages coming back into price. I think that could also be a little bit of resistance. So you can see how the chart likes to follow the moving averages, or vice versa. The moving averages like to follow price, but it can act as support and resistance, where we see this a few times in Xpev. Okay, let's get off of that. DDOG. I like DDOG, and the thing is that I love this chart, but just like so many others, we have to be very careful because well, for one, am I going to just move my trend line until I'm biased? It's above trend. Am I going to just keep moving my trend line? I like this run up. I like this price action. The only thing we have to be mindful of is it's already pulled back to support so many times, and eventually that's not going to hold true. So we just got to be really mindful of it. However, if you are long in DDOG, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. This price action in the last 4 days, I think, is a little bit more bearish than it is bullish. But then again, we saw that back here, and we saw that prices made higher highs after that point. So one way to do it is you could just do a couple lines in here and just say, set up a trading plan of, I'm going to go long over 100, or I'm going to go, I'm not sure that I would go short. You have some pivots down here. So, but you could definitely be long above 100, I think there's a little bit of room for that. OZON. How's it going, Carl? Stacy, how's it going? Mike, welcome to the dark side. Welcome to Ride the Bull. Okay, so, and by the way, I think I'm going to change my YouTube name. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I was thinking about using my actual name, Patrick is my first name, but using my full name, or just Patrick from Ride the Bull. I think I'm going to drop trading with Prime, even though I've had Prime for such a long time, for years, but I think it's a little bit confusing. So let me know what you think in the comment section. Yes, Mike, we'll go over plug. Okay, where are we at? Ozone. How do you say this company? Ozone? Ozone? OZON. Let's start with that. I like the name. I like the and that's why we buy stocks, because we like the names. I like this, right? I like the support, which I think is a little bit more relevant in stock trading. It's the horizontal support, not necessarily the trends. I think that prices like to follow I mean, we're talking zones here. It doesn't have to be to the penny, but we're talking zones, and it's at support. So if you were long in this trade, I think that's okay. You're going to find a little bit of resistance probably right just overhead, maybe between 61.56 and 62.80, and you've already discovered support. It was a gap fill. I don't know if it completely filled the gap, but the gap I'm talking about is right back here. And so that's something to kind of keep an eye on. I don't necessarily know if I like this candle of Friday. It looks like it's a little bit indecision. And until and unless we get back above the high of Thursday, this can be consolidation in here, which I don't like consolidation after a down move. So that's something to kind of be looking out for. Okay. Ozone LPCN. LPCN. Yeah, ride the bullet, Patrick. We'll do a vote. I'm not holding OZO in. I pretty much closed out of a lot of long trades, and so yeah. LPCN. I like this chart, but just like the one that we just saw, did it actually? This almost looks like a chart we just looked at. Why is that? Huh? Did we already look at this? If I keep scrolling, there it is. It looks like DDOG, doesn't it? Look at LPCN and look at DDOG. I mean, not the whole chart, but just like the last few days. LPCN. Anyway, LPCN, I like this chart as far as it does kind of look like the other one. We're above support. If I drew a trend line in here, and you know what I would like to say is here's an old prior consolidation area. So if we do, how do I say that? So price is having a hard time right now getting through the prior consolidation, which is what we want to see. We want to see this whole area is technically consolidation, right? So if this whole area is consolidation, it's not going to be really easy for price just to simply fall through that consolidation. But the other thing we want to be mindful of is that price also likes to come back and backtest prior breakouts. And so this was a prior breakout. Price should come in and immediately start selling away from that. That's something to be mindful of. The other thing I want to point out is that if I zoom in a little bit for you guys and kind of show you this, this pattern right here is technically bearish. It's not bullish. It is consolidation. So if you are in this trade, it's okay to stay in the trade, but just be mindful of where you're at on the chart. And if we get below Friday's low, then start being a little bit cautious. You don't want to be stuck in a trade while it's consolidating. Well, you can be in it while it's consolidating, but if you're stuck in a trade and it breaks through consolidation to the downside and you're long, it can move really fast and far. So and then something for this chart, if you're looking at it, this is the next pivot down. So that's quite the drop. If it does break through consolidation or this out of this consolidation pattern to the downside, that's quite the drop. So you can be long in this trade. Just be mindful of where your stop loss is going to be, and then be mindful of your targets back up to the upside. You might find a little bit of resistance at 170. Actually, you might find a little bit of resistance at Friday's high, which it looks like the bid and the ask right now is 159, 160, somewhere in there. Friday's high, and you're definitely going to find some resistance up here at 172. But again, you can stay in this. Just be mindful of your price levels, if that makes sense. Okay, let's get into your guys's or the rest of these. So let's first start off with. Okay. Let me catch up on comments really quick. Welcome, Adam. Welcome, Stacy. I already said welcome, Stacy. Yes, we'll get into these. And okay, BCDA. Let's do it. Let's do it. You guys have been loading it last time too. I like it. I like it. BCDA, let's take a look at this and see what do we see? What do we see? The very first thing that I see is I see this kind of melt up and maybe into exhaustion. And the other thing is this price pattern in here is sometimes can be a little bit tricky because it is technically bullish. Like this pattern is bullish, and now you have consolidation, depending on what your entry was. And what we do have is we had this trend in here like this. Well, no, let's do this. It'd be more like this. But up in this area, let's do this. Now you can see where it's just kind of riding trend like right through here. What I don't necessarily like about this is that it fell down. It didn't find support here, right? It fell through that area, and then it back tested, and now it's selling off again. So you see that? It's almost like an ABC kind of a pattern. And so one thing I'll kind of say is this, is that if it does continue to the downside, it's at support right now, which was one of these, I wouldn't call it main support, but that is a pivot back in there. But then you have a prior consolidation period, and that's right here. So you can see why it's having a little bit of trouble getting through that area. So you can technically be long in this area as long as you know full well that if it falls through that consolidation period, that it might not be too pretty. So just know where your level is at as far as taking a long trade. I'd be eyeing this area down here, to be honest with you. I would much rather, I know that's quite the ways away, but it is bullish as long as it stays above that price of 310. As long as it stays above 310, this overall pattern in here can be bullish. Let's look at the weekly time frame. Weekly time frame, so you can see it's the chart has a history of popping up, selling off, popping up, selling off, and these sell-offs can just be public offerings. It's biocardia, so maybe it's a biotech. I don't know anything about this company, but maybe they're public offerings or whatever. Weekly time frame though, it has a history of doing this where it'll pop up and then sell off. So it did pop up. Instead of selling off this time, it kind of popped up, and you can kind of see it in here. This is the pop up right here. So as long as it stays above that low, it's bullish, right? So, but which also means that there's a lot of room in here. So if you're stuck in the trade, I don't know, like it depends on, it's relative to when you got into the trade, right? BCDA, let's look at VIAV. I like it. Weekly time frame looks pretty good. It's having a little bit of trouble getting over this pivot, and the pivot that I'm talking about is from back here, which is a little bit after what looks like IPO. I don't want to say it's IPO because I don't really know, but it looks like whenever the chart started. A little bit of resistance back there, so that's something to look out for. The thing I do like about this chart is it was making higher highs, higher lows. This is 2019, and then you see the coronavirus dump down in here. I take that back. That probably isn't the coronavirus. This is probably the coronavirus. You know what? Let's do this. 808. Okay, so this is the coronavirus. So yeah, I mean, as far as I do like the higher highs, higher lows, I like that. But the cool thing about this chart is it did get over this last area right here. It traded above this area, and it looks like it went through that area, which is a nice breakout. And maybe this is just a back test, so maybe we're back testing this area maybe around 1587. So as far as a long trade, I definitely like the chart. There could be a little bit more profit taking. Maybe we'll come all the way down to 1562, somewhere in that area. Sometimes, you know how the chart doesn't always like to just break out and then back test to the penny. I mean, sometimes you get the to the penny kind of behavior, but usually it'll pull back to kind of like fake everybody out, make everybody think that it's a failed breakout. Let's delete that. Making everyone think it's like going to be a failed breakout, and then it takes off without you. So, but yeah, maybe it'll come back down here to 1548. Eric, ERIC. What do I feel? We've traded that. I feel like recently too. Eric's having a lot of trouble getting through this area right here, and you know, it did get through that area, then it pulled all the way back, and I don't know if that's a fake print or an error. But it's having a little bit of trouble. So usually what will happen is a chart, instead of breaking out after this kind of a run, where it runs all the way up to that area, I think it probably needs a little bit more time. And then it rallies again, it consolidates. I would let it consolidate at this area. It needs a little bit more time to get through this resistance, if that makes sense. Now, of course, that's on a weekly time frame. Let's go to the daily. Daily chart, same kind of thing. Like it ran all the way up here, pulled back, ran up, pulled back. You could be long or accumulate around this $12.43 area. But the other way to trade it is to just wait for the breakout and then take the breakout. I like the chart. I like the higher highs, higher lows. It's bullish. Like, I like the chart. FISV. FI what? FISV. Okay, so I like this chart. Daily chart looks great. Let's go to the weekly. I like the weekly chart. It looks like it could still use a little bit more. Like maybe it needs a little bit more time and consolidation. But if I go back to the daily, it looks a little bit choppy. So I would say I'd just be very careful on your entries. Be careful with your risk management, because if you're in this trade and you purchased it anywhere in this zone like this, as you can see, it likes to gap down, gap higher, gap down, gap higher. And the way to resolve that, usually for me, is I'll lower the number of shares. I'll lower the capital. And so if you are looking at something like this, you're already in this trade, I would just keep raising your stop loss up. The thing with this kind of a chart is you could, like, let's say for hypothetically you got in down here around 105, it ran all the way up, it comes all the way down, it creates this pivot right here around 106. That's where my stop loss would be, because we pretty much rocketed Well, actually, there is one more pivot in here, and it's right up here around 110. So I would want to give it the room that it needs, but I don't know about entry just yet. I would want to see a little bit more evidence, a little bit more. I would want a good price, right? I hope that makes sense. I'd want a good price. Until it breaks out, we're too close to resistance for my kind of a trade, personally. But if it pulls back a little bit and creates another higher low, that in my opinion would be a good place to enter, or let it consolidate for a while and then wait and then take the breakout above 119. Okay, Neo. I like Neo. I like Neo. Neo can actually be bullish above 41.90, 41.78. That's where my stop loss would be because of the volatility in this name lately. And you know, this is one of those things I wish I would have held from $2 and whatever this was, $3.20 back here. But this is a volatile name, and so it's quite the range in here. You have a range in here, right? Let me clean it up just a tad. So you have a range in here like this, and it's quite the range because it goes from $41 all the way up to $41.57. So there's two ways to trade this. Is we could let it consolidate. We can accumulate. Actually, there's three ways. We can let it consolidate, and we can either take a breakout, or we can accumulate shares down here at the lower end of the range, or maybe even the mid portion of the range. The other thing is we could just buy it and then never look at it. That's another possibility. That's not my kind of a strategy, but I like to either accumulate or I wait for the breakout. But because it's such a wide range, I would want to see, like, and this is a nice little retracement. You can kind of see it ran from, when it did run from 41.73 all the way up to 51. That's 20, almost 25% run. And now it's pulled back. It looks like almost 50%. And so the pullback was 13% off of 25% run to the upside. So that is a nice area as far as entry. As far as if you were trying to dip by it, this looks like a nice solid dip in here, coming off of this level, dipping down. Maybe it'll get another pattern up here. But I would want to see a little bit more evidence if that's actually what's happening. But yeah, I like the chart. Another thing to kind of look out for this is that you had a breakout area right through here. You have consolidation. It is solid support in this area, which is probably why if it is heading to the south side, it's going to have it needs a little bit more time and energy and effort to get through to the southern side. I would say that Neo is more than likely bullish than it is bearish, although these last 2 days are a little bit scary. I hope that clears it up. Plug. Okay. Plug, same kind of scenario as Neo. It's got quite the range on it. It's another one of those charts that just has a lot of volatility. And so you do have a reversal candle. Whenever I spot these reversal candles, the first thing that we have to consider is that, well, for one, there should be no reason why price does run a test of that support. It's possible. And if it, just a little, throw this out there, a little technical analysis. If price does run down there to test support, we want it to shoot down there with momentum and then shoot back up. What we don't want is we don't want to see price down there and then consolidating. You know, we don't want to see price trickle down there, because if it does trickle down there, it's more likely to break through support. However, when I look at the chart like this, first thing I see is a reversal candle, and anytime I see this kind of a candle where it's got a really long wick, because of that, I think that if price stays above, and this might have been your really good entry right here as far as a dip buy, maybe we will see higher prices to the upside. If I go to a lower time frame on this one, like even the 4 hour, now you can see it a little bit better on a 4 hour. This looks really bullish, right? This looks really healthy. It looks really bullish. You saw the dip buyer show up here, pushing price back up, and so far it has found support, and it's doing a bullish consolidation after a run of support, if that makes sense. Like the chart, it's on the watch list. Oh, and if this does break out, I'm not sure I would put a lot of weight in these moving averages in the 4 hour time frame, although you could. I like the hourly chart. Same kind of scenario, but because of where it came from, it came from 37. I know this was a nice little sell-off here, but I still kind of want to count this. And you could still see price do one of these things where it, let's pull up the little drawing tool, where it kind of like does this, right? Now what we want to see is we want to see it kind of tighten up and create higher lows, if that makes sense. And I'm looking for a breakout above 50 if you're not in the trade. Fubo. We went over Fubo, Adam, in the very beginning. MOS. Well, I wouldn't say very beginning, but close to the beginning. Okay, MOS. I don't like the hourly bearish consolidation, although this is one of those patterns that's like, this is what's really interesting about technical analysis. When you see a bullish and a bearish pattern at the same time, right? You see, for one, you have a reversal candle on the hourly chart, and it creates a bearish consolidation, even though we're above this breakout through here. Bearish consolidation, if you're counting from just this reversal candle going down. And then it looks like the bearish consolidation played out, consolidated one more time bearish, and then you saw it sell off. This is what's really interesting. You have a bear flag pattern in here. This is a bear flag, which could be lower prices. And if they were, I'd be targeting this 27, which was this last pivot in here. It would actually be around 27, 28. And then that's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is this, where the opposite of that is you have this support in here. You have higher lows, you have higher highs. And right now, from this higher high, it kind of sold off through here. It hasn't really taken out this previous low in here, right? And then so what I see recently is I see a support in here, especially on this moving average. You see support in here, and it's creating a bull flag. So you have a bull flag and a bear flag all at the same time. So what do we call that? Indecision. What do we want to see with indecision? Let's look at the daily chart. Daily chart, now it makes it a little bit more clear, a little bit more evident. On the daily chart, it looks like we were just in an uptrend, right? And so that would be a really nice area to dip by. We're in an uptrend. We had a breakout. We continuously see these breakouts in this name. So you can definitely be long in this company. I would just do the thing where you just keep raising your stop loss. One thing we do want to be careful of is when you see price riding the 20 period like this, the longer it rides the 20 period, the more likely it is, in my opinion, for it to fall through. You want it to kind of bounce off of the 20 period, pull back, bounce off, pull back to it, bounce off, pull back to it. And now it's just kind of riding it. So just be very careful of that. Overall, though, bullish chart, like it. I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that. RVP. And let's look at the weekly time frame on this just to put it in perspective. So a little bit of resistance. It really depends on what your time frame is. I could do one of these. We could do something like this and say it already broke out and now it's back, and then it back tested and it's pulling away from here. That's one way to look at it. Another thing is I don't know if price is just gonna, maybe it needs a little bit more time to get through this head and shoulders pattern you kind of see in here. That's definitely an area of resistance, and so that's why you kind of see this on the weekly time frame. If I zoom in a little bit more, and now you can kind of see these weekly prices show up here, and that was technically a reversal candle last week, or can be a reversal candle. It did shoot all the way up here to around 33.12, somewhere in that area. And now you can see this resistance. Why is resistance up here? That's pretty hefty. So maybe you'll see a pullback to 26, and then it'll start taking off. But I still think, I'm not saying there's a reason to sell the position. I'm just saying that's something to kind of look out for. MOS. Okay, what else we got? Did I skip some? RVP. We were in an RVP trade. I wish I stayed in it. When you start to see this chart, I think we were in it back here. Anyway, yeah, I mean, it's looking good. This is healthy. I would say this is fairly healthy. Because anything above 1336 can still be bullish on a daily time frame, which is this area right here. This candle right here. It can still consolidate in here, right? It's hard for me. The reason why I stopped trading this one is because it's pretty volatile. You see these spike ups. It kind of pulls back a little bit. That's a lot of time to sit through of not a lot of movement. And this would have been a nice trade to take right through here where it found support and then took off out of here. Now for me, because I see this recent price action to the downside and now it's consolidating, the only thing is we did see another I think J&J got an approval on a vaccine, so maybe the vaccines overall, I think that will help this company, and like any kind of news that we see might, which is why you probably see it spike up like this. Any news that you kind of see might really affect this name, so that's something to also be mindful of. But technical analysis wise, you do see a reversal candle right here, and I'm going to just kind of do one of these. That's the reversal candle, and since then it's creating a bull flag. But overall, this price pattern, like the other one that we saw, it sells off and is now consolidating, creating a bearish consolidation. So both of those things I think would apply. Because of the news over the weekend, let's see what happens pre-market tomorrow. Let's see if that was the news that we saw, is going to help this name. And now you can see clearly the bull flag pattern, which is this. And at the same time, I see this not sell off. Maybe we'll call this profit taking and then trading sideways. I don't like the trading sideways after a downturn, though, personally. Okay, we went over Neo, SNDL. Did we go over SNDL? We went over SNDL. Wait. Oh, no, we didn't. No, we didn't. SNDL. I mean, let me know if we did. Let's say we did or didn't. So SNDL, I like this. So this I like. I don't like the reversal candle, and this is a pretty monstrous reversal candle. I mean, this is pretty scary. I don't like that, and because of that reversal candle, I think that in this time period, it's a very good indication that we should maybe stay away from the trade. However, after finding support, which we found a few days ago on a prior consolidation area, now it's starting to get interesting. Now it's something that I would personally, and you know what? I like this chart. Thank you for posting this. I personally would consider taking a trade. I mean, I consider taking a trade in a lot of these names, but I like this price action. I like how it fell down to, well, we got to be careful. Here's a reversal candle. This is a reversal candle. So this one worked out for a little while and then sold off. So we did find support in here. I think you can definitely be long at this price area. In fact, follow my cursor over here, guys, if you can. Follow my cursor over here. You see this breakout back here? And this is the kind of thing that I look for. See this breakout right here? And this is this specific candle right here. It's a little bit bigger than all the rest. And it is the breakout, and it's after this kind of consolidation. And that's really the last major pivot that we had. Now, if you put your cursor on that and say the low of that, which is $1.13. You know what? Let's do this. $1.13. Is that what we said? $1.13. On your right, there's your support, right? So now you can see why this candle right here, if I zoom in a little bit more, now we can see why this candle found support there. And there is no reason why price should be back down in that. There isn't another reason why it should be down there. And like we were saying before, if it does go down there, we want to see a quick shoot down and then back up. We don't want to see it shoot down there and then just kind of like trade sideways. I do like this. I like this price action. I do like that it ran up and then pulled back. I would be looking at taking a long trade. The only problem is where are you going to put the stop loss? And for me, I would have to put it just underneath price, current price, which is Friday's low. Let's go back to the daily chart. You guys can see how the inner workings of how I would trade this. Now, I don't like Friday's close. That is something to kind of look out for. And technically speaking, your stop loss should go below that last pivot, which was the $1.13 area. But for me, that's too far away. Well, how can we manage risk on that? How can we limit risk or manage the risk? Well, what we can do is we can buy half as number of shares as we normally would buy, right? Our stop loss is further away. So how much pain are you willing to take before finding out that you're not correct in the trade and you know that we're wrong? How much pain are you willing to take? The other way to trade this is wait for the breakout above Friday's high. And the reason why is if we break out above Friday's high, I think it would be pretty probable that we go high above Thursday's high, if that makes sense. I know there's going to be resistance at both of these highs, but I think that if we get above Friday's high, that's going to be pretty bullish and a good reason to stay in the trade or raise your stop loss up to break even. EH. Whoops. You know what we should start doing? We should start having a contest. And for all these stocks that we see on the on here, we should do a little contest. I'm not going to set it up right now. I'll talk to Super about this, but I think we should do a little contest. And on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever stocks run the hardest that week, maybe the person that brings it can get like a little extra something for bringing the stock to the attention of the group. We are a team. I don't like this. This, to me, this looks like bearish consolidation. Well, there's two ways of looking at this. Well, for one, there's this candle here, and then you see that it retraced halfway back up that candle, and then it's been selling off. That's one way to look at it. This pattern in here is bearish. It's not bullish. This overall pattern is bearish consolidation, usually resulting in lower prices. For that one reason on the daily chart, I might not be interested in this trade. However, before you disconnect, it found support and is since then putting in a bull flag off of this support with consolidation. So we could see a little bit more movement in here before it goes one way or the other. I think there's definitely going to be some resistance in here. Just like we see some support in here, I think there could be definite resistance in here. It did run all the way to 129 from a price of 23.95. Chart got way ahead of itself, so it needs a little bit of time from the beginning of the year till now. It needs a little bit of time to consolidate that kind of a move. And thank you for the chart. I put it in here? Yeah, I did. EH. Wonder what they're working with. EA. So Ehang Holdings. Looking for entry in BCDA. Oh, that's the one the healthcare. Look at the monthly on VIAV. Sparked my curiosity. Yeah, I mean, you usually see this happen. This is probably a public offering. Whatever it was back here at year 2000. I imagine that's what it was that kind of a run up and then some sort of public offerings. I mean, well, when you see this kind of a run up, it's like we saw in GameStop. And then you see this kind of a sell off. It's not surprising. So that's insane. I mean, I wonder how many people bought back then at that price. Waiting for it to go to back to 1,000. I mean, that's insane. Oh, FISV owns Clover. Interesting. ARC L. I wanted to go long on some of these ARC. I wanted to go long on some of these ARC. Is this one you wanted? ARC K or ARC? Okay, yeah, ARC K. I've been waiting for the pullback, right? We're waiting for a correction. And so that's kind of what I'm looking at. This is the weekly time frame. Let's do this. So in all these kinds of names, I want to get involved. I want to be invested, but I'm waiting for the correction. For something like ARC, unfortunately, I feel like I've missed the train. And for that reason, I'm personally sitting this out until I see quite the pullback. It's up 365%. And I don't know, for me personally, I think we could see prices a lot lower than they currently are sitting, but it doesn't mean that we can't find support right here around 124 and then just begin rallying away. That's the weekly time frame. Definitely bullish chart. If I go to the daily chart, I see this as bearish consolidation. We have a down move, and now we are consolidating in a bearish fashion. The one thing, the good news is that you have a bullish candle in here on volume. Oops. You have a nice bullish candle right here, which is a trend reversal candle, usually pointing to higher prices. These last 3 days, which was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, can just be a retest of Tuesday's, bullish reversal on heavy volume. So I do like this price action in the last few days. That's one way to look at it. I like that. I don't like how it came from 159 and is now trading sideways. But I do like the bullish setup in the last 4 days. Let's go to a lower time frame. So just like the other charts, we could trade it kind of the same way, where now it's a little bit more clear on the hourly. You can kind of see this is the reversal candle right here, right? And then you see it tries to run up, can't get through the gap. It traded off, but it stayed above this area. It's staying above. In fact, not only that, but you see a bull flag in this last So basically Friday, right? So it can be bullish. Just be very careful of it. It might need a little bit more time in here. Maybe create higher highs and higher lows out of this area. And there was another ARK investment. It was like not innovation. It was the space one. Does anybody know what the space ARK? Like I don't even know if it's out yet. It might just be. It might be new. IWM. We went over IWM in the beginning of the video, but volatility is picking up, and I do see these two areas through here. I don't know if this is a megaphone. We'll see. It looks like the IWM is up after hours. It's up at 222.22. Futures are up, so we'll see what happens tomorrow. 222 is right around this area, and so it's kind of in the middle of the road. We'll see what happens. I do love playing the IWM right now. I think I'm short the IWM right now. I'm currently sitting on a short position in the IWM, so it's not healthy that it's up for me. But for anybody else who's bullish the IWM, that's great news. And what I would do is I would just keep raising your stop loss up if you're in the trade. For me personally, for the IWM, I'm waiting for to go long again. I'm waiting for a breakout back above 227.21. So until we get above that resistance, that's what I'm looking for. It's the last major area of resistance, and so maybe that'll be tomorrow. Maybe it'll be Tuesday. Just be very careful because we are seeing a lot more volatility. Let's put the IWM. What did we just go over? ARK-K. Put this on the list. Okay, what else are we looking at? Thank you for the IWM. CCIV. Did we go through CCIV? Oh, yeah, we went through it. Yeah, CCIV. Yeah, it's not looking... Yeah. I mean, this normally... I don't want to say this is what normally happens, but when you see this kind of a run-up, it's not surprising to see this kind of a thing. Like probably a sell the news event. But with that said, you can definitely see higher prices if you believe in this company. I'm not... You know, maybe hold it for long term, you know? ANTE. Okay, ANTE. Did I put it on here? Okay, so ANTE. Let's look at the daily chart. Same kind of thing we almost saw on CCIV. It's kind of the same pattern where like it ran all the way up here to 694. It has sold off. Where are we going? Where are we headed? Where's this thing going? Let's go to the weekly time frame. Weekly time frame, you're kind of used to seeing these spike up sell-offs, so I'd be very careful. Let's go to the monthly, just because I'm curiosity. So monthly from whatever this is, 26. I don't know what kind of company. It's AirNet Technology. I do like the monthly chart as far as coming from 18 cents, but just be very careful. You know, just be very cautious. Let's go back to the weekly. You can kind of see these spike up sell-offs. That's something I'd be definitely mindful of. Be very cautious with the spike up sell-offs. Let's go back to the daily chart. And now you can see it spiking up here to 694 and then pulling back. And beginning of the year till now, let's just do a rough estimate, 333%. It might need a little bit of time of consolidation in here. So that's what I'd be looking for. I'd be looking for consolidation. But if you want to take a long trade, the problem is that support is pretty... You know, you could have support down just underneath 350. And so I would want price to come back down closer to that area because that's where my stop loss would be going. If it's not, though, and you wanted to take a long trade out of this, I'd be looking at taking a long trade above this 430 price area. And I know that's a little bit ways away from current price from Friday till that resistance is around 13%. But this area so far, you could do this. You could try to do like a trade off of current prices and maybe, you know, you have to really determine where your stop loss is going to go. And for me, it's not as clear as down in this area, down below 350. Let's look at a lower time frame. Lower time frame, it's a bear flag, right? Like, so you have price come down from this area right here. It's a rejection, sell off, and now we're trading sideways. That's one way to look at it. So just be very careful. Like if you were to put a stop loss or if you were to take a trade out of here, a long trade, again, I would be looking to get above resistance first or letting it support fail and then down to a price that you're willing to buy it at. Now that I pull up the hourly chart, I'd probably be looking a little bit lower, maybe just underneath $3 or just above $3. Okay, Anthony's on there. Yeah, I don't even know if I played CCIV. I mean, there was a lot. There was a few I got burned on. I took a huge loss in UWM. Was it UWMC? Was that the one? I don't even want to be reminded about that. I was like, you know what? Let's just hold it as a dividend, right? But at a certain point, at this point, we could just wait for bullish movement out of this. You know, like we traded before the merger, did really well on a few of these bounces. This is ugly. I mean, this is ugly. You know what I mean? So at this point, I think I'd personally be looking for like some sort of signs of life in this one. You know, it's one of those trades you hold on to, wishing you never did. So I totally feel it. I totally feel it. Let's look at F cell, and I think that'll wrap it up. Let's take a look at F cell. F cell, there's like a lot of the charts that look similar. Let's put F cell over here. And you can see when I was trading F cell was below $1. It was like down here in 30 cent range back in the day. You know, I actually liked it. I like the weekly time frame, right? You can see what it found resistance over here, and if I put it over here on the chart, there's this resistance area, but consolidation back here, and you can see it lining up with current price consolidation, and it needs a little bit of time. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. That can be healthy. Let's zoom into the daily chart. It needs a little bit of time. I do like this price action. Again, like a lot of the other charts we saw, it looks like this could be the low, this reversal candle back on Tuesday. And then you have a retracement of the reversal candle, giving all the traders who are bullish an optimal area to buy into that dip. You already have the reversal candle. You already know where your stop loss is going to be. It's going to be just below that reversal candle, right? So if I go to the daily or the hourly chart, and that's how I like to do it. I'm not saying it's the right way to do it. I'm just saying that's what I like to do. So this kind of a pivot, now you have another pivot to go off of. So if we do break out, whoops, I'm moving the screen all around. It's probably giving you guys headaches. Okay, so what we're looking at is we have the reversal candle. You have it runs up, it finds resistance, it pulls back a little bit, profit taking, and it finds support, giving dip buyers the opportunity. Now it's creating a bull flag. And so what we're looking at for right now is we're looking for a breakout. Another way to trade this is you could just draw a trend in here and wait for the actual breakout. Just be mindful, you might have some resistance up here, which is around the 21-27. But if we can get a breakout, I think it could run pretty fast. Okay, that's it. Thank you guys for taking part in the live stream. I appreciate it. We will see you guys on the next video.